I have a Mudman lookalike, but it only costs 10% of its price. Welcome back, and before starting this video, I need you to take a closer look into this watch. I think you've seen it, and by the end of this video, you'll understand why I showed you this watch. Let's start with the unboxing experience. Oh, that was quick. Let's start with the specifications of the watch. The AE-1500 is one of the most budget-friendly as well as unique featured watches Casio can offer. You have a case diameter of 47.3mm, a width of 12mm, and a height of 45.4mm. The lug width is around 22mm to be precise, but you get even 24 when you measure the outer strap as well. Other than that, you have a resin case and band to this watch, 100 meters of water resistance, a resin glass, you have a dual time function, stopwatch, timer, 5 alarms and amber LED light to it, and the cherry on top, you have a 10-year battery as well. If I have to talk about the design of this watch, I would say this is the most bold budget watch you can ever see. Because bold watches are in a very expensive category in Casio, but in a budget, if you want a bold looking watch, this is the one for you. Even though it has a resin case and body, it's not as flimsy as the ones we've seen before. This is quite solid. After the A158W, I would prefer the AE-1500. When you're looking at the watch as such, you have bold numbers, seconds, as well as seconds animation. You have the illuminator logo above the 12 o'clock position and the 10-year battery at the 6 o'clock position, and you have 4 buttons for 4 functions, which is common to almost all watches, and each function's specification is written below the button. In the strap, I can see that it doesn't have that weird resin smell in the strap, but you have that striation at the back. Some people might like and some people might not like it, so it's just a personal preference. If you look closer into the watch, you can actually see a few unique things in this watch. It might be there in other models, but this is the first time I'm seeing something like this in the watches I've reviewed. On the bezel, you have the screw-like projections, which is actually not a screw. If you see the Mudman or the Mudmaster, you can see these kinds of screws. But here they've made a screw-like projection, but it's not a screw, but it is an added advantage to the watch's aesthetic. Above each button, you have the function of each button. It is actually engraved to an inch, which is like a very good thing. The buttons are quite solid and you have the satisfactory feel when you press the buttons. In the normal budget watches, the buttons are quite flimsy, it just stands out. But they've given you good reinforcement in this watch so that even if you press the button, you won't feel kind of weird feeling. In the display, you have even more great things. The inner bezel is also a unique design feature of this watch. You have the 100 meters of water resist written on the top. Normally it will be on the bottom or on the side, but this one is on the top. And you have the alarm chronograph function, which is the 2 functions of this watch as well. This is the 1/10 of the second counter. So if you want to quickly check like 1/10 of a second, this you can check that. Very handy feature which nobody uses most of the time. But if you're a person who wants 1/10 of a second, this is something you can actually see straight away. You don't have to go into any function. If you look closer into the dial, you can see that the Casio logo is actually inside the dial. It was more like a display component, but it is not. It is just like it's like a hologram where you can see the Casio logo, which is a niche touch to this watch. 2 kinds of displays in this watch. The middle time display is actually clean. The seconds, 1/10 of a second is a strip which runs separately, and the date and seconds it's dotted in nature. So I don't know why they went for that kind of a difference in the watch, but it doesn't affect the watch as such. It's just a feature which is like, I don't know why it was there in the first place, but maybe due to they're using different panels or something like that. And you have the 5 alarms also written as same as the Casio logo, which is not part of the display, it's just embossed on the display. And one more thing I have forgot to mention, you have a dual time feature in this watch. Normally when it comes to this watches, F91 for instance, if you press one of the buttons, it directly takes you to dual time zone. But over here, you have to go through the modes and you'll have the dual time function, which is actually a very good feature which you've seen in basic models in Casio. One thing I noticed while using the watch is that when you go into the alarm function, it is written as -1, -2, -3. I don't know why it's written minus, but maybe you can toggle that out. I'm not sure, but I haven't tried that. And you have all the other functions as well, like the normal function. If you like the video so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I do everything related to watches and watches only. Thanks to one of the subscribers, Sarvesh, 'Thanks for sending me this watch to review, and it's actually a great watch. Actually, this is one of the most good backlights after the AE-1500. This one has the same layout as all the other previous models we've seen. It has the amber backlight. Even in pitch darkness, you can actually see the time, but it is not as powerful as the ones we've seen earlier because of the wider display. It's getting distributed everywhere. If you remember at the start of the video, I told you to take a closer look at a watch. It is nothing but the GW9500 or the Mudman or the Master of G Land collection. If you look at both these watches side by side, you can see an uncanny resemblance. It is not a one-to-one resemblance, but still you have a lot of resemblance between both of these watches. Like the screws on the top, here you don't have a screw, but there you have one. And the layout of the buttons, there you have a sensor button, but here you don't. The overall design is almost the same. You don't have the G-Shock logo over here, but you have the illuminator logo over here. The strap size, also the mode of the strap is also very similar. And if you look at the display as well, you have the same layout, but not the seconds hand. And the 1/10 of a second countdown timer is also there in both of these watches. So this was the closest resembling watch you can get to this one. And the other one is what you're seeing in the video right now, which is the GBDH2000. It doesn't have the exact resemblance, but still some of the aspects of the watch are almost similar. So I think Casio is on the verge of making budget versions of their high-end models where people can actually afford. But it doesn't have the same features, but it has the looks. If you have a question, I've been getting a lot of questions whether most of the watches I review are good for slim wrist. I like to call it slim wrist instead of skinny wrist. This watch is not definitely for those slim wrist people out there. So this watch is quite bulky. If you have a wrist size of 6.5 inches or more, this watch will perfectly suit you. But if you have a skinny wrist, it will be too big for you. So I don't think so. This watch is going to cut the chase. But if you feel like you want to wear a big watch, even if you have a very small wrist, you can take the risk. The price of this watch is just awesome. It is priced at $2,495, which is actually a very good price for this watch. And if you wear this watch and if someone sees you from far, they will think that this is a G-Shock rather than an AE-1500. So it has the looks and almost feels like a G-Shock. Talking about the overall build quality is just great, and it's not as flimsy as the other models we've seen. It has a very good display as well, but there is one small thing which I noticed, but just once. If you press the display too hard if you press it too hard to wipe the screen, you might, it's like a more LCD screen, so you might see that pixel spread. This might come in this watch, but I can't say for sure because only if you press it too hard that will happen. So that is not going to happen unless it is intentional. That is a rare thing, so I can't take it as a limitation. I'm just letting you know. So these were some of my thoughts about the Casio AE-1500, and it's actually a very good watch at a very good price. You don't get this watch in a discount normally, but if you get it in other online stores, it's actually value for money. If you like the video, please do like it. If you have a friend who wants to buy G-Shock lookalike but doesn't want to spend a lot of money, share this with them and share it to all your friends who likes budget watches. If you haven't checked my previous video about the OG Tiffany, you can check it out here, and playlist of all the videos I've made over here. I'll see you next week in another exciting video. Until then, peace out.